The immortal path is difficult, and human nature is cold and thin. The strong have a revered heart like frost, while the weak have a humble fate like grass. Xiaoshan, a young man in the mortal world, was destined to embark on a path of immortality. He wanted to use his sword to carve out a ray of sunshine and add a touch of warmth to this cold cultivation world. Chapter 1. Mountain Village Youth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On a summer afternoon, the open mountains and forests. The sunlight passes through the branches and leaves, with golden lines falling on the ground, leaving a mottled image. Birds dance and play among the branches and leaves, while summer cicadas sing happily on the branches. A gust of fresh wind swept away the birds and scared away the cicadas. Suddenly, a fierce beast roared, causing the entire mountain and forest to tremble. Xiaoshan, run! A man's voice came, appearing extremely anxious. Dad, don't worry, I'm fine, ready to shoot. A young boy's voice followed. I saw a figure like an elf speeding through the mountains and forests. He is agile in his movements and his footsteps are light. Sometimes he steps on the trunk of a tree and turns around urgently, and sometimes he looks back with a contemptuous smile. Behind him was a dark gray wolf over 2 meters long. The bad wolf seemed to have been angered by the young man, with a grin on his face as if he would never stop until he caught him. On the other side of the mountain forest, a middle-aged man is drawing a bow and arrow, aiming at the figure of the evil wolf. But on his cold and stern face, his eyebrows furrowed tightly, clearly showing some concern. But at this moment, the young man who was running suddenly grew up and grabbed a branch with his hand. He pulled himself up, bent over, and stood on top of the branch. Turning around, the young man grabbed the corners of his mouth with both hands and extended his tongue to make a mischievous expression towards the evil wolf, saying, "Lululu." At this moment, the middle-aged man released his bowstring. With a bang, the arrow left its string. With a swoosh, the arrows shot out at lightning speed, rushing towards the head of the evil wolf. In fact, the goal of a man is the eyes of a bad wolf. But at the moment when the arrow left the string, he felt that the arrow had gone off course. Ah! The man gave a disappointed thump on the big tree next to him. On the other side, the boys' cheers came. Oh, oh! Hit it, hit it! Dad, you hit the bad wolf! The boy said, jumped down from the big tree, and rushed to the side of the evil wolf in one step. Be careful, little mountain. The man was still somewhat worried, unsure of the young man's words. Because he knows the arrows he shot himself. But the image he was worried about did not appear. When the man also came to the side of the bad wolf and the boy, he was surprised to find that his arrow really penetrated into the wolf's eyes. And 3 inches into the bone, the evil wolf has died so much that it can no longer die. Dad, the arrow just hit the eye, and the whole wolf's skin is not damaged at all. It can be sold for a good price. The boy looked at the man happily and said. The man, on the other hand, looked at his son with a puzzled expression, somewhat confused. Recently, he has often had illusions. Sometimes, even though he missed his shot, he always manages to hit the target. Is it because my archery skills have improved? However, he didn't think much. Being able to capture more prey was not a bad thing. Okay, we have gained a lot today. When we go back, we should treat the little mountain well. The man patted his son's shoulder and said. Do we eat chicken or rabbits? The boy asked tentatively. Huh, you kid, today we're going to eat both chicken and rabbit. The man touched his son's head and said. Okay, I'm going to have a big meal today. The boy jumped up happily. At this moment, a black shadow suddenly shot out of the sky, and before the father and son could react, the shadow plunged directly into the young man's head. The man didn't notice, but the young man suddenly felt dizzy. Xiaoshan, what's wrong with you? The man quickly reached out to help the boy and asked anxiously. The young man opened his eyes in confusion, looked around, and then looked at his father, saying, "It's okay, Dad. It's just a bit dizzy, maybe it's too tired." "Let's go home quickly," the man said, letting the boy lean against the tree and start tidying up the prey on his own. And the boy, at this moment, looked up at the sky as if searching for something. The evening in the mountain village is bustling with activity. People who have been busy for a whole day will always take up their jobs, pick up mantu and come to the village to have a meal while talking about mountains. They are accustomed to jokingly saying the tiredness of the day, as if this can eliminate it. The afterglow of the sunset left a red glow on the horizon and disappeared to the ground level. Father and son, one tall and one short, finally returned to the village dressed in sunset glow. Before we could even get home, we heard a commotion. "I don't care, you must give an answer today. The eldest child of the second family is so smart, I can't delay him." The voice of an old man came from a small courtyard. The middle-aged man and the young man exchanged a glance, with different expressions in their eyes. "The son of the second family wants to study, why should we pay? Did you ever give us a penny or a pound of grain when your elderly family kicked us out? Last year, my eldest child reached the age of studying and borrowed money from your elderly family. What did you do? You used a stick to knock out the people. Now, why are you so embarrassed to come to our house and ask for money?" The person who spoke later was a woman, and in her words, besides refusing, there was endless grievance. "You're a woman from every family, I won't tell you. I'll wait for Damin to come back." The old man kept waving his hand, his grey beard shaking as he spoke. And at that moment, the middle-aged man and young man also arrived home. As soon as the woman saw the father and son, she quickly pulled the boy over and said, Come, take a look. This 10-year-old child has been helping his father hunt for 2 years. In the past 2 years, Delang's tuition fees have been earned by this 10-year-old child's help. If you want money, give it to him and let him earn it for you." The woman gently pushed the boy towards the old man, and surprisingly, a strange smile appeared on her face. "You unlucky thing, get out of here." The old man was startled when he saw the boy, scolding and retreating. "Ha!" The woman laughed angrily and said to the neighbors outside the door, "Everyone, take a look. This is what a grandfather said. This is his own grandson. In the past 10 years, he has never held a hand, never given a bite of food, and every time he speaks, it's a bad thing. Do you know that your grandson's tuition fees are all earned by the unlucky thing you talk about?" At this moment, the middle-aged man came to the field and stopped the woman, saying, "All right, just say a few words less." Then he looked at the old man and asked, "Dad, how much is still missing?" Before the old man could speak, the woman grabbed the middle-aged man and said, "Su Daemon, if you dare to give money to that group of white-eyed wolves again, I'll run away with my children. You go and spend time with them. You." The man also looked embarrassed upon hearing this. The old man on the other side refused and raised his hand, cursing and ready to fan towards the woman. But at this moment, the young man stood in front of the woman, holding a dagger in his hand and looking coldly at the old man with a pair of eyes. The old man saw the young man's gaze and his body was once again full of excitement. At the next moment, he stumbled back a few steps, with a look of fear on his face, turned around and left the courtyard as if fleeing. Chapter 2. Something in the Brain. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the late night of the mountain village, everything is silent. The whole village was pitch black, except for Su Daemon's home, but there was still a flickering light. That is the room of young Su Xiaoshan and his elder brother. The elder brother is studying in the town, and this room has become Su Xiaoshan's private space. At the beginning of a person's life, their nature is inherently good. Their nature is similar, but their habits are far apart. If you refuse to teach, your nature will be transformed. The way of teaching is to be dedicated. Su Xiaoshan is studying, which was taken back by his brother from a private school in the town. My family is poor and cannot afford to support 2 scholars, so I can only make do with it this way. In 2 years, Xiaoshan has memorized the 3-character classic and the 1,000-character classic proficiently. In this regard, Xiaoshan is even stronger than his elder brother. Originally, according to his parents' instructions, Xiaoshan was sent to study and Xiaoshan was asked to help with work and hunting at home. Xiaoshan disagreed. He said that big brother is the eldest son and grandson, and should be a role model for the next generation. He cannot take away big brother's position. Who knows where the little one learned these truths from? Son of a bitch, do you think we lost the hill? Damon asked coldly. After his wife ignored him all night, Damon finally found a reason to talk. With a slap on Damon's arm, Liang Zuihua pinched her throat with a hint of resentment and said, "You're going to die. If you don't speak up, you'll startle me. You're not afraid to wake up my little sister." Damon was not angry either, and even smiled foolishly and said, his mother, you see, Xiaoshan started learning with Dalong, but now he's doing better than Dalong. If Xiaoshan doesn't enter the school, I'm afraid he'll blame us in the future. Liang Zuihua patted the sleeping Sanier Xiaomei while thinking about Damon's words, feeling a bit regretful. After thinking for a while, she used her arm and elbow to pestle Damon and said softly, "Our little mountain has an idea. We always talk and do things the same way. Also, although Xiaoshan is usually very sensible and obedient, he has a twisted temper. You didn't watch today. Faced with your unreasonable father, our little mountain just gave him a glare, and your father ran away without saying a word. Let me say, we all listen to Xiaoshan. Whatever he wants, let's not stop him." After listening to Liang Zuihua's words, Damon also fell into contemplation, especially recalling the hunting during the day. Damon has been feeling that this son is strange lately. Especially in the past few days, he feels that his success rate in hunting is outrageously high. Every time he successfully hunts, the finger of the small mountain always points to the middle arrow of the prey. And a very small number of unsuccessful ones happen to be when the small mountain is not there or there is no time to arrive. Are these all illusions? Damon didn't say anything about this, he was afraid of scaring his own wife. Go to bed, tomorrow we'll go to town and bring the small mountain with us. Firstly, we'll broaden our horizons, and secondly, we'll let the master take the exam for teaching. Maybe he's kind-hearted and can waive tuition fees. Damon couldn't help but smile at the thought of his intelligent and sensible son. The sound of the neighbor's son reading was like a lullaby, causing the restless couple to fall asleep contentedly. Next door, Xiaoshan felt the even breathing of his parents and gently closed his handwritten copy. He stepped onto the bed, sat cross-legged, and closed his eyes slightly. I almost exposed it today. If my dad knew there was space in my mind, would he be scared? Xiaoshan thought to himself, and his consciousness fell into the space in his mouth. What's that? As soon as his spiritual sense landed in his mind, he realized that there was an extra green thing in his own space. Is this what fell on my head during the day? Xiaoshan immediately thought of what happened during today's hunting. At that time, due to his father's presence, he didn't feel particularly uncomfortable and didn't do much. Now, thinking about it, this green thing must be that thing. Xiaoshan tried to approach the object with consciousness, wanting to see clearly what it was. But as soon as he approached, there was a strong wave that pushed his spiritual consciousness back. And in the following moment, the object unexpectedly released a dazzling green light, illuminating the entire space. Xiaoshan felt as if there was something subtle in the green light that had entered his body through his brain. That thing was cool and refreshing, making him more alert than ever before. This is not over yet. After the thing entered his body, it flowed downstream from his head, neck, shoulders, arms, chest, abdomen, and waist. Gradually, the thing seemed to be about to travel all over Xiaoshan's body, making him feel indescribably comfortable and unconsciously let out a moan. Aha! As soon as the sound was heard, Xiaoshan immediately covered his mouth, afraid of waking up his sleeping parents. What's going on? It feels like every part of my body is filled with that thing, so comfortable. Xiaoshan thought to himself. Suddenly, Xiaoshan felt something was wrong because he began to feel a piercing sensation all over his body, and then that feeling became stronger and stronger. No, it's starting to sting a bit. Ah! Gradually, Xiaoshan couldn't bear it and covered his mouth, preventing his painful cries from spreading. He gritted his teeth and endured the intense pain. However, the intense pain was not something that a 10-year-old boy could truly endure. Gradually, the little one fell into a coma amidst endless pain. When I woke up again, I didn't know how long it had been, but anyway, it wasn't dawn yet. It's not painful anymore. There's also a feeling of overall comfort, more comfortable than before. What's going on? The little one certainly didn't understand what was going on, and no one taught him. Oh my! What is this? Suddenly, Xiaoshan let out a soft cry. How come I feel sticky all over? At this moment, Xiaoshan's whole body was wrapped in something sticky, smelly, and black. This won't be. Xiaoshan thought of a possibility. Although he is young, he also has a certain understanding of the world. Adults say that there are immortals in the world. He heard that the first step in cultivating immortality is to beat the body. And my previous feelings were very similar to those of the rumored cultivators tormenting their bodies. So the little one gazed back at the green thing in the sea of consciousness, with a complex mood. What will this thing of unknown origin bring to oneself? Anyway, wash off the dirt on your body first before we talk. After washing his body clean, Xiaoshan's spiritual consciousness once again entered his mind. Without understanding the origin of this thing, Xiaoshan always can't let it go. However, as soon as I approached that thing, I was pushed back by a wave of fluctuations, so I tried again. In this way, after multiple failed attempts, Xiaoshan fell asleep in confusion. Chapter 3. A Family of 5. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The morning sun rises, the breeze is gentle, the leaves rustle, and the whole world is awakened. Xiaoshan was the first one in his family to wake up, but today was slightly later than usual. In addition to the strange event that occurred last night in his brief sleep, he also had a strange dream. In his dream, the green thing actually communicated with him and transmitted a complete set of knowledge of cultivation to him. At the moment of waking up, Xiaoshan immediately recalled his dream from last night and found that he had not forgotten any of the knowledge of cultivation. Is the dream real? That thing is called the Taichu Hunyuan Ding, which is an amazing treasure. As for where the treasure is, he doesn't know for the time being. However, since the Tai Chu Hun Yuan Ding can transmit his cultivation knowledge, it has already proven its extraordinary nature. He also learned that everything that happened to him last night was washing his tendons and marrow, helping him to heal his body, and he will do so every day in the future. The Taichu Hunyuan Ding also taught it a technique called the Taichu Hunyuan Jing, but only the first volume of the technique is available. If he wants the second volume, he must elevate his cultivation to the extreme of the qi refining period. I'm a poor boy from a mountain village, how can I practice? I'll practice until the end of the monkey year. Xiaoshan thought of this and smiled bitterly. Since he has gained so much knowledge of cultivation, he naturally knows what cultivation requires. He really can't do it now. As he walked out of the room, his parents had not yet woken up, so Xiaoshan began to fetch water and cook. Last night he heard his parents talking, and today his father is taking him to town. Maybe we can learn about cultivating immortals by then. Although the Tai Chu Hun Yuan Ding taught him cultivation knowledge, it did not teach him the cultivation sex and world situation in this world. He can only rely on himself to explore this little by little. Second brother. A crisp voice came from behind, and Su Xiaoshan was overjoyed and quickly turned around. "Little sister, why did you wake up so early?" Su Xiaoshan looked at the little girl like a porcelain doll and asked with a smile. "Hee, my parents said they want to take us to town. I want to dress up beautifully, so I need to wake up earlier." Su Xiaomei happily explained to Su Xiaoshan. "We're all going, that would be great. Brother will take you on a good stroll and buy you a lot of delicious food." Su Xiaoshan pinched the little girl's chubby face and said. Although Su Damon's family is not considered wealthy, they never lose out on their children in terms of food, so the three siblings of Su Xiaoshan are not in poor health. Su Xiaomei is the only girl and the darling of the whole family, loved and cherished by everyone. Therefore, Su Xiaomei was raised to be white and chubby, like a porcelain doll, not at all like a mountain girl. "Oh my, second brother, don't pinch someone's face. If it's pinched, it won't be beautiful anymore." Su Xiaomei, who was only 4.5 years old, gave Su Xiaoshan a pale glance and pretended to be angry. "Ha, don't be afraid, my little sister is the most beautiful, no matter how you pinch her, there won't be any problem." Su Xiaoshan was amused by Su Xiaomei's grown-up tone and laughed heartily. At this moment, Su Damon and Liang Cuehua walked out of the room and saw Su Xiaoshan, who had already prepared breakfast, feeling very comfortable. The smiles on their faces were like spring flowers blooming. "It's really fortunate to have such a child at home. Dad, Mom, wash up and prepare to eat." Su Xiaoshan immediately said to his parents when he saw them coming out. "Okay, Xiaoshan is sensible. With you around, parents don't have to worry about anything," Liang Cuehua praised with a smile on her face. Being praised by his parents, Su Xiaoshan naturally felt happy in his heart. After breakfast, Su Damon borrowed a cart from his neighbor and loaded it with the mountain goods and fur he had accumulated during this period. With his wife and children, the family happily rushed to the town. After handling the affairs of Ying, they purchased essential items for daily life, and the family of 4 went to a private school to visit Su Dalong. As we approached the private school, we saw Su Dalong already gazing at the entrance of the school, seemingly waiting for a long time. "Mom and Dad, second brother." As soon as he saw the carriage at home, Su Dalong waved his hand and shouted to welcome him. Su Dalong can only return home once a month, and usually only meets Su Damon when he comes to sell mountain goods in town. He is naturally very happy and excited when he sees his family coming at this moment. "Big brother! Big brother!" Su Xiaoshan and Su Xiaomei shouted happily when they saw Su Dalong. "Second brother, little sister, you've been working hard all the way, haven't you had lunch yet?" Su Dalong immediately began to ask for warmth and comfort. Although Su Dalong is not as clever as Su Xiaoshan, he is also as sensible as Su Xiaoshan. "When I came, I brought a pancake and couldn't be hungry, but it was you. Everything was okay at school, how were you getting along with classmates?" Liang Cuehua grabbed her eldest son's hand and couldn't bear to let go. After all, Su Dalong is still a 12-year-old child. He has been in this private school for 2 years and can only return home once a month. There is no one to take care of him here. As a mother, how can he not feel sorry? "Don't worry, mother. Everything is fine with the child, the teacher treats me well, and my classmates are also easy to get along with." Su Dalong was about to shed tears when he saw his mother and quickly explained. "In fact, this kind of conversation has been going on many times, but no matter how much my mother's advice and nagging, it's not too much. All right, it's like this every time. Find a place and give him the things we brought, and let's take a stroll around the town. It's almost time to go home." Su Damon interrupted when he saw Liang Cuehua crying. "You shut up, you can come a few times a month, so naturally you don't mind." "I only see my son once a month, so don't bother us," Liang Cuehua scolded angrily. Okay, you guys keep going." Su Damon turned around and sat on the carriage, no longer caring about them. When Su Xiaoshan saw this scene, he also smiled foolishly. When the family was together, it was okay. Big brother, here, this is the fried meat made by her mother, it's so delicious. Su Xiaomei looked up, raised her hand, and lifted a small piece of fried meat, desperately trying to feed her big brother, looking really cute. Ah woo. Su Dalong didn't hesitate and swallowed the fried meat in Su Xiaomei's hand, constantly praising, it's really delicious. Oh my, big brother's saliva. Stinky. Su Xiaomei, who had just been focused on eating meat for big brother, now despises big brother's saliva again. The whole family laughed heartily when they saw this scene. What is that doing? Su Xiaoshan saw many people walking in one direction, even the students in the school were heading in that direction, so he asked Su Dalong. Oh, I heard that some immortal masters from the immortal sect are recruiting disciples in the town. These people are all going to watch the excitement, Su Dalong said nonchalantly. As soon as Su Dalong finished speaking, Su Xiaoshan and Su Damon looked at each other with a telepathic gaze. The difference is that in Su Xiaoshan's eyes, there is surprise, while in Su Damon's eyes, there is worry and melancholy. Sure enough. Su Damon thought to himself. Scenes of hunting flashed through his mind, like thorns piercing into his heart. And he also noticed that Su Xiaoshan seemed to be a bit different from yesterday, and as for where he was different, he couldn't say anything, only lowered his head and pondered. Liang Cuehua and Su Xiaomei, on the other hand, looked bewildered. Daddy, let's go take a look too. Su Xiaoshan looked at Daddy and asked. Before Su Damon could react from his contemplation, Liang Cuehua asked in confusion, what are you looking at? What immortal sect does it have to do with us? Su Dalong looked at his father and then at his younger brother, as if he had guessed something, and his eyebrows furrowed. Daddy! Su Xiaoshan shouted again. Go! Or not? Su Damon looked at Liang Cuehua, then at Su Dalong, and finally at Su Xiaoshan. Su Xiaoshan felt that his father seemed to feel something, so he took his hand and said, Dad, go and see. If I can be selected, it will be good for our family, won't it? Su Xiaoshan is right. If Su Xiaoshan is selected by the immortal sect, it would definitely be a great thing for their family. From now on, not only in the town, but also in the county, I'm afraid they will have to take good care of his family. What? What was selected? Liang Cuehua was still shrouded in mist. Su Xiaomei is even more focused on the fried meat in her hand. Su Dalong looked at the expressions of his father and Su Xiaoshan, took his mother's hand and said, Mother, my second brother wants to go to the immortal sect. We should support him. What immortal gate, Xiaoshan, we're not going. I don't know if she has reacted, but Liang Cuehua immediately firmly opposed it. Su Xiaoshan knew this was the case, so he came to his mother's side again and held the other hand, saying, Mother, let's go and see the conditions given by them first. If it's good for our family, it doesn't matter if we go. It's not like we don't come back. Can you still come back? I heard I've been to the immortal sect and only come back a few times in my life. You're really missing your mother. Liang Cuehua said, tears welling up in her eyes. What's going on? Let's talk about our eldest son. Why is our second son going to the immortal sect again? What should she do as a mother? Su Damon frowned and pondered for a long time. Finally, he got off the carriage and came to the three of them, saying, Xiaoshan has been smart and clever since childhood, and has always had ideas. Maybe there really is this opportunity. Damn it, we should support him. If we were really selected, it would be very beneficial for our family. In the future, he will bring us a few fairy pills to eat when he comes back, and we can still live forever. Although Su Damon said so, his eyes clearly contained reluctance. Go, go, everyone, I'll wait here. Liang Cuehua gambled. Mother's opposition caused a deadlock on the scene, and everyone fell silent. Hey, isn't that Su Dai? Su Dai, your family is about to become immortals, and your cousin has been selected by the immortal sect. Suddenly, a voice came, catching the whole family off guard. Chapter 4. Grandfather's dramatic sibling selected. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The center of the small town is the place where the immortal sect collects disciples. A middle-aged man with a sheep-horn beard, several young men and women, stood on a high platform, indifferent and overlooking the crowd below. On the left side of the high platform, stood several young men and girls with fiery eyes and excited expressions. At the corner below the high platform, Liang Cuihua tightly held Su Xiaoshan's hand, while her other hand pushed through the crowd and pushed forward. After hearing that Su Yan had passed the Immortal Gate test, her mother Liang Cuihua's attitude changed greatly, and she even took the initiative to bring Su Xiaoshan to participate in the Immortal Gate test. When he saw Su Yan on the high platform, his expression froze and he turned to Su Xiaoshan, saying, "Look, your grandfather, if he can't gather enough to cultivate, he will send his grandson to cultivate immortality. You go too, we can't lose to him." Su Xiaoshan smiled bitterly upon hearing this, and his emotional mother agreed to participate in the selection just to vent her anger. But it's also good, as long as the mother agrees, the reason is not important. On the high platform, Su Yan also saw the Su Xiaoshan family. Su Yan, who had just been obedient, immediately squinted his eyes and sneered at Su Xiaoshan. At this moment, an extremely discordant shout rang out from outside the crowd. "Catch the monster, immortal master. The monster is right ahead and we can't let him run." The voice of an old man came from behind the crowd. The people around turned around, and the disciples of the immortal sect on the high platform were also attracted by the sudden shouting. When the crowd separated, an old man with a middle-aged Taoist quickly arrived at the front of the stage. This old man is none other than Su Xiaoshan's grandfather Su Changhe. Su Changhe held the Taoist with one hand and pointed to Su Xiaoshan at the edge of the field, saying, "Immortal master, that's him, that's the monster. Hurry up and catch him." The people around immediately turned their attention to Su Xiaoshan. In the eyes of everyone, Su Xiaoshan was just an ordinary young man, and he couldn't tell where he looked like a monster. Moreover, this is the place where the immortal sect collects disciples. If this young man is a monster, how dare he appear here? And the Taoist who was brought by Su Changhe, at this moment, his attention was completely not on Su Xiaoshan, but turned to the high platform. When he saw the middle-aged man on the high platform, he shook off Su Changhe's hand and respectfully bowed to him, saying, "Immortal master, please accept my respect. This matter has nothing to do with the villain, it was he who lured him in." The middle-aged man from the immortal sect glanced back and forth at Su Changhe and Su Xiaoshan several times, but chose to ignore the Taoist. Su Changhe was a bit flustered and the middle-aged immortal saw him. "What's wrong with this? Isn't this Taoist's attitude when he collects money?" He turned his gaze towards the middle-aged man, his hazy eyes twirled, and then signaled to Su Yan at the edge of the high platform. Su Yan was also a bit confused at the moment. He knew his grandfather was going to clean up Su Xiaoshan, but he never expected that he would bring the Taoist here. Here are all legitimate immortal masters, who can compare to that stinky Taoist. Isn't this adding chaos to oneself? But at this moment, he had to step forward again. Otherwise, if the immortal master really investigated, he might not be able to do it as a disciple of the immortal sect. So, Su Yan bravely bowed deeply to the middle-aged immortal master and respectfully said, "I have something to say to you, elder. Speak up." The immortal is so precious in his words. At this moment, Su Xiaoshan grabbed the mother who was about to explode, and his gaze wandered over Su Changhe and Su Yanya's grandson, quietly watching them perform. I saw Su Yan turn around and look at Su's novel, saying, "He is my cousin. He killed his grandmother at birth, and later caused our Su family to be separated. Over the past decade, he has brought numerous disasters to our Su family. Just yesterday, my grandfather saw a demon in his eyes. He was so scared that he didn't sleep all night, so he invited the master of the immortal cloud temple to come here to arrest him. Please also ask for the elders Ming Jian. After speaking, Su Yan turned around and bowed deeply to the middle-aged man again. The middle-aged man from the immortal sect remained expressionless from beginning to end, and no one knew what he was thinking. And that Taoist, at this moment, was sweating profusely. He knew without looking that Su Xiaoshan was clearly an ordinary young man. If it were normal, he could still use some means to deal with this young man, but now, how dare he? Didn't even the immortal sect master refuse to look at him? He. The immortal suddenly chuckled twice, then shook his head before looking at the Taoist and asking, if it were in the ordinary day, you might have already taken action and turned this young man into a monster, right? Upon hearing what the immortal master said, Master Xinyan's cold sweat is like spring water, flowing out without any money. How should he respond? At this moment, after listening to the immortal master's words, Su Xiaoshan can already be certain that the Taoist today is likely to suffer. Seeing that the Taoist was indescribable, the immortal master stood up and looked at him coldly, saying, "It seems that you have done a lot of evil for money these years, so I will keep you." After saying these words, the immortal master soared into the air in a force that was invisible to the naked eye hit the Taoist's forehead. The Taoist didn't even scream, so he collapsed to the ground. No one dares to test the life and death of that Taoist. I think he's dead, right? The people around are really scared, a living person, just disappeared like this. Where have they ever seen such a scene? There were constant screams of shock around, and even several people couldn't bear it and fainted on the ground. Seeing this scene, Su Xiaoshan deeply realized the power of an immortal master. Killing someone turned out to be so simple. Ah! Master, spare your life, I dare not again. Su Changhe beside him threw himself to the ground, begging for mercy. On the high platform, Su Yan, who had previously been arrogant, was now as flustered as a sieve. No matter how bad he is just an 11-year-old child. In his imagination, at most he would torture Su Xiaoshan, and he didn't dare to think that it would lead to human life. Perhaps Su Changhe's original intention was the same. Who would have thought that this immortal master would use such thunderous means? The demonic way is a disaster to the human world, and I can take action to solve it. However, I cannot or do not want to deal with worldly affairs. However, a grandfather actually falsely accused his grandson of being a monster, which is really unheard of. At this point, he focused his attention on Su Xiaoshan. After observing for a while, he said again, "Young man, would you like to join my Qingyun gate?" Su Xiaoshan was taken aback at the words. The others were also stunned. Upon hearing the middle-aged man's words, Su Yan on the high platform also froze. Directly through. No need to test. Can you tell Su Xiaoshan's qualifications just by looking at him a few times? Su Changhe lay on the ground, trembling all over and lying lower. He dare not question the decision of the immortal master. Su Xiaoshan released his mother's hand and bowed deeply to the middle-aged man in the immortal sect, saying, "I dare to ask the immortal master, don't I need to test my qualifications?" The middle-aged man touched his sparse beard, nodded, and said inexplicably, "I have watched you collapse in front of me without changing your face. With this state of mind, you are not comparable to ordinary people. And even though you are only 10 years old, your body is working very well and it seems that you exercise a lot in your daily life. You are young, but your hands are covered in calluses. Just now, you tightly protected your frightened mother, indicating that you are a sensible, family-oriented, filial, and responsible child. Our immortal sect needs you as a younger generation." The immortal praised Su Xiaoshan for a while, causing tears to flow down her mother Liang Cuihua's face. As a mother, how could she not understand her son? He is only 10 years old and has already helped his parents shoulder the heavy burden of the family. If it weren't for him, how could she have lost to her second son? Su Daimon, who had never spoken, also shed tears of pride at this moment. Su Dalong looked at his younger brothers back in front of him and made up his mind to study hard. When his younger brother went to the immortal gate, he would guard this house. Immortal uncle is right, how is my second brother? He is the best and best brother. The quiet scene was interrupted by a crisp voice. Master Xianmen also focused his attention on Su Xiaomei. When he saw Su Xiaomei, his eyes suddenly shrank and he jumped off the high platform. No matter how others react, just hold on to the little girl's hand and feel it with your eyes closed. Su Xiaomei didn't react for a moment and didn't know what this immortal uncle was going to do, so she didn't resist. Liang Cuehua and Su Daimon wanted to intervene, but were stopped by Su Xiaoshan and waited quietly. After feeling it for a while, Master Xianmen took a deep breath and then looked at Su Daimon and Liang Cuehua next to Su Xiaoshan, asking, "Parents, are you willing to entrust this girl to Qinyan Gate?" What? Everyone on site was stunned once again. What's going on? I just finished praising that young man, how could I fall in love with his younger sister who is only 3 or 4 years old? Is it difficult? Does this girl still have the ability to defy the heavens? Ah! Su Daimon and Liang Cuehua naturally became confused. Su Xiaoshan is also somewhat puzzled. He knew he was special, but he couldn't understand his sister's situation, so he asked on behalf of his parents, "Dare to ask Master, my sister?" Just as Su Xiaoshan was asking, a voice rang out in his mind. "Young man, your sister has a very good aptitude. If I didn't sense it wrong, she should be a top-notch heavenly spirit root. Please advise your parents to let me take her to Qinyan Gate, otherwise if someone discovers her, the consequences will be unimaginable. Is this just a matter of transmitting messages into the secret?" From the spiritual knowledge in his mind, he knew that this was a matter of transmitting sound into the secret, which only a strong person in the golden elixir could achieve. This immortal master is a powerful golden core cultivator. So without saying a word, Su Xiaoshan pulled his parents and elder brother aside and quietly informed them of this matter. After listening to Su Xiaoshan's explanation, Su Daimon didn't know how to respond. However, Liang Cuehua raised an objection and said, "Your sister is only 4.5 years old now. How can she take care of herself when she arrives at the immortal sect? Mother, doesn't this still belong to me? I will take care of my sister." But... Woo-woo, what's going on here? Come back to the town, both children are leaving me, woo-woo. Liang Cuehua felt uncomfortable in her heart. But she said words of obstruction, after all, how could she stop her own daughter from having such a divine fate? At this moment, the master of the immortal sect spoke again, "Don't worry, parents. As long as your 2 children enter our Qinyan sect, we will compensate this young man with 20 taels of silver per year, and this girl will be compensated with 50 taels. Wow! Is this about to be posted? Exclaimed the people around. How can we afford to compensate 2 children with 70 taels of silver per year? Su Yan's face on the high platform became increasingly ugly. He could never have imagined that Su Xiaoshan was intelligent and clever, even if he was favored by the immortal sect. But how could the foolish girl, Hida, make the immortal master give such a reward? At this moment, under the high platform, Su Changhe, who was lying on the ground, wanted to dig a crack in the ground and drill in directly. If I had known today, why did I have to go back then? Upon hearing Master Xian's promise, Su Xiaoshan's family was naturally surprised, but still couldn't conceal their sadness. After some persuasion and discussion, it was finally decided that Su Xiaoshan would join Qinyan's sect with his sister, and the immortal sect master also agreed not to let the 2 separate until his sister was 10 years old. Now Su Daimon and his wife reluctantly let go of their worries. So, the immortal gate test continued. In the end, 6 children were selected to become disciples of Qinyan's sect. The matter of accepting disciples has come to an end, and all the compensation that should be given has been fulfilled. The immortal master will also return to the immortal sect with 6 new disciples. Xiaoshan, you must take good care of your younger sister, don't let her suffer injustice, and take good care of yourself. Liang Cuihua tearfully reminded. Don't worry, mother. Although my younger sister is young, she is very sensible. She knows where we are going, Su Xiaoshan said as he looked at his mother's advice. Xiaoshan, my dad is not very good at speaking, but I still want to remind you that the immortal sect is different from the mortal world, so be careful. Su Daimon patted Su Xiaoshan's shoulder and said. Su Dai and Su Daolang, holding Su Xiaoshan with one hand and placing the other on Su Xiaoshan's shoulder, said in a deep voice, Don't worry, second brother. Big brother will work hard to study, strive for fame, and not let his parents suffer. Well, let's work together as brothers. Su Xiaoshan nodded in response. Looking at the scene of the family bidding farewell, the middle-aged master smiled and nodded, thinking to himself, the harvest this time is really not small. Chapter 5. Spiritual Awareness of Objects. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. 50 miles out of the city, the middle-aged immortal took out a jade plate and landed his finger on it. The jade plate immediately transformed into a portal that seemed to be elusive. A few little guys looked at this scene with surprised expressions, but no one dared to speak. Subsequently, the middle-aged immortal took out a small object similar to a shuttle and threw it in front of everyone. The shuttle instantly grew larger and turned out to be a large ship. Before the children could even marvel, a gentle force swept them onto the big boat. This big ship looks bigger than 3 houses, with several immortal masters and 6 little ones inside, all appearing very spacious. Before I could finish admiring the magnificent decorations and patterns of the ship, it slowly rose and passed through the illusory gateway. Wow! Finally, the 6 little ones couldn't help but shout out their excitement. At the moment of passing through the door, a grand and vast new world appeared before them. Standing on the flying boat, white clouds drifted by, while mountains and forests retreated rapidly beneath. That mountain is so big, that tree is so high, even at their feet, above the mountains, there are so big birds soaring. At this moment, they seem to have truly become immortals, immediately intoxicated by the fantasy of mountains at my feet, white clouds by my side, divine hands picking stars. At this moment, the voice of the middle-aged immortal interrupted the children's imagination. Children, welcome to the world of cultivation. I am Elder Yun Xiu, the sword blade elder of Qingyun Gate. Before formally becoming a disciple, you can call me Elder Yun or Senior Yun. How do you feel, just entered the world of cultivation? Several disciples of Qingyun's sect remained silent, smiling at the 6 new members of the cultivation world. The children were all very reserved and didn't know what to say, but Su Xiaomei, who was only 4.5 years old, didn't pay that much attention. Just now, Su Xiaomei, who was crying so hard that her eyes were still swollen, looked up at Yun Xiu and said, Immortal uncle, why is this big ship flying in the sky? Why are those mountains so big and why are the trees so tall? The little girl doesn't know about the grand world or the vastness of her territory, she only cares about her most intuitive things. After hearing Su Xiaomei's innocent question, Yun Xiu felt very comfortable in his heart, so he stroked his beard and answered with a smile, Ha ha ha, that's a good question, little girl. The environment in the realm of cultivation and the mortal world is naturally very different. Whether it is the energy of heaven and earth or the vastness of space, they are not comparable to the mortal world. Try it out, what's the difference between the air here and the mortal world? Before the children could feel it carefully, Su Xiaomei spoke again, the air here is so fragrant. And what else is there? Yun Xiu asked excitedly as he looked at Su Xiaomei's condition. Immortal uncle, I feel like something is drilling into my body. Su Xiaomei replied in confusion. What? What? Yun Xiu and Su Xiaoshan almost came to Su Xiaomei at the same time and spoke at the same time. In contrast, Yun Xiu's expression was even more moving, and even his beard was trembling. Yun Xiu looked at Su Xiaomei. After a moment, he glanced at Su Xiaoshan and said to one of the disciples of the immortal sect, "Quickly arrange for the little girl to enter the secret room." "Yes." The disciple responded and immediately left with a bewildered expression on Su Xiaomei's face. Seeing Yun Xiu's cautious expression, Su Xiaoshan was somewhat worried and didn't know what had happened. Yun Xiu, on the other hand, scanned every person on sight with his gaze and said solemnly, "What happened today must not be mentioned to anyone. If there is any disobedience, kill." When Yun Xiu uttered the last word, "kill," a chilling chill emanated from his body, causing everyone on the scene to tremble. Especially Su Yan, who remained silent on the side, felt that Yun Xiu's words were aimed at him. No matter what they thought, Yun Xiu finished speaking and pulled Su Xiaoshan into his room. As soon as he entered the room, Su Xiaoshan immediately spoke up with concern and asked, "Elder Yun, what's wrong with my sister?" Yun Xiu's expression was solemn, and upon hearing this, he was quite surprised. "I told you before that your sister is likely the legendary peerless heavenly spirit root, but now, I can tell you, she must be the peerless heavenly spirit root. And maybe it's some kind of special physique. She can feel the spiritual energy around her more keenly, and even the spiritual energy is willing to actively approach her." Listening to Yun Xiu's explanation, Su Xiaoshan's heart had already stirred up quite a stir. Because he found the object described by Yun Xiu. The spiritual body. From the knowledge taught by the Hunyuan Ding. Spiritual bodies are a general concept, and there are many spiritual bodies in the cultivation world. Those spiritual bodies are very close to the Tao, and there are almost no bottlenecks in cultivation. As long as one reaches a certain level of cultivation, they can easily break through the realm. Similarly, Su Xiaoshan also knows why Yun Xiu is so worried, because the appearance of any spiritual body is the object of competition among various cultivation forces. If some forces outside the Qingyun Gate find out about my sister's secret, then a struggle is inevitable. What's even more terrifying is that some evil sects may also come out to compete, and their purpose of competition may not be to recruit disciples, but to deprive their spiritual bodies. It is to take out the spiritual body from the original owner and transplant it to another person. Although there aren't many such things, we have to guard against them. Nowadays, there are very few spiritual roots in the cultivation world, let alone spiritual bodies. You don't understand the cultivation world, it's a cruel world filled with life and death struggles everywhere. Although we cultivators are originally going against the sky, fighting against the sky, fighting against the earth, and more importantly, fighting against people. But no matter how much competition, the righteous sects can still adhere to the minimum bottom line, afraid that those evil sects will come to compete. Yun Xiu also expressed his concern. Upon learning this, Su Xiaoshan felt extremely heavy in his heart. He looked at Yun Xiu and asked, "Elder Yun, Qingyun Gate, can you protect me?" Upon hearing Su Xiaoshan's words, Yun Xiu took a deep breath and solemnly said, "Don't worry, Xiaoshan. As long as the little girl arrives at Qingyun Gate will definitely protect her well. You have to believe in Qingyun sect. Our Qingyun sect is one of the 6 major sects in the Xianqing realm, and its ranking is still at the forefront. No sect dares to provoke us easily." Su Xiaoshan nodded and then arched his hand, saying, "That's good. There's nothing wrong, I'm out." "Well, go ahead." Yun Xiu nodded and waved his hand, saying. Su Xiaoshan stood on a flying boat, gazing at heaven and earth from afar, feeling a bit complicated in his heart. The difference between what happened today and what he imagined is too great. It's not about the environment in the cultivation world, but about what he is currently facing. Originally, he only wanted to enter the world of cultivation and gradually cultivate, and ultimately achieve what he had achieved, just leave it to time. But he never expected that his younger sister would possess such incredible qualifications. No matter what, we must protect our younger sister thoroughly. Su Xiaoshan looked at the towering mountains and trees constantly retreating under his feet, his gaze distant and deep. Feeling someone looking at him, Su Xiaoshan turned around and saw Su Yanjing staring at him with a gloomy gaze. Su Xiaoshan knew from a young age that Su Yan's family, due to his grandfather, did not have a good impression of him. Now, due to what happened today, I'm afraid the rift between the two families will become even greater. However, he was not worried about what would happen to Su Yan, as Su Xiaoshan never took him seriously. Ignoring Su Yan's hostility, Su Xiaoshan returned to his room. He learned from his senior brother at Qingyun Gate that it will take him half a month to return from here. During this time, he will also experience more than 10 forging exercises of the Hunyuan Ding. He doesn't know if his secret will be leaked. Or perhaps we can discuss with Hunyuan Ding ourselves and wait until we reach Qingyun Gate to forge the body. Su Xiaoshan shook his head with a bitter smile, which was definitely impossible because it was always Hunyuan Ding who took the initiative to communicate with him, and if Su Xiaoshan wanted to communicate, he would be pushed out. So Su Xiaoshan didn't think much and immediately sat cross-legged, beginning to meditate on the cultivation knowledge taught to him by the Hunyuan Ding. After a moment, Su Xiaoshan discovered an interesting clip of spiritual consciousness controlling objects. As mentioned above, if a person's soul power is strong enough, they can use their spiritual sense to control items, and even control weapons for combat. Is my spiritual sense powerful now? Su Xiaoshan thought of this and felt restless in his heart. He had already learned from that knowledge that the space in his mind was called the Sea of Consciousness, and the size of the Sea of Consciousness was determined by the strength of his soul. Su Xiaoshan still remembers that the first time he discovered that he had the ability to recognize the sea was when he followed his father on a hunt at Qinya Mountain. For a moment, he suddenly felt that his brain was clearer and his eyesight was better than before. He was even surprised to find that he could control the accuracy of his father's arrows. From that time on, with his assistance, Dad's archery skills improved and his prey naturally increased. Since I can control the arrows, then other things can also do it. Thinking of this, Su Xiaoshan immediately took out his beloved dagger. This dagger, according to my father, was found outside the courtyard of the old house on the day I was born. Because it was too small, it was inconvenient for my father to use it, so I kept it there. Later, when Su Xiaoshan decided to help his father hunt, his father remembered and made a scabbard to give to him. Su Xiaoshan looked at the dagger in front of him, which was only about the length of a palm, and immediately mobilized his spiritual awareness to make contact with the dagger. Buzz! At the moment when the spiritual sense came into contact with the dagger trembled a few times. Really? Su Xiaoshan exclaimed in surprise. Chapter 6. Sudden Accidents. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yun Xiu, who was closing his eyes and recuperating, suddenly felt a wave of soul power. He then let go of his divine sense and felt the source of the soul power wave. When he found that the soul power wave came from Su Xiaoshan's room, he couldn't help but feel a little moved. But after a moment, he smiled slightly again, shook his head, and said, "It's really extraordinary." Then he continued to close his eyes and focus, putting this matter aside. At this moment, Su Xiaoshan was pleasantly surprised. He didn't expect to succeed in his first attempt at using spiritual perception to control objects. Immediately after, he increased his spiritual control even more. The trembling dagger was about to sway and hang from the ground, but just 1 inch off the ground, it suddenly fell to the ground. It seems that the soul power is not strong enough. After muttering a sentence to himself, Su Xiaoshan continued to review the knowledge about soul power, hoping to find ways to enhance soul power and spiritual consciousness through it. On the other side of the flying boat, Su Yan, who had experienced daytime events, also returned to his own room. At this moment, his face naturally doesn't look good. Although Elder Yun Xiu did not pursue his false accusations against his cousin, nor did he punish his mortal grandfather, he even chose to let himself go once because he had a good spiritual root. However, He knew that from now on, in this world of cultivation, especially in Qingyun Gate, he might not be too comfortable. The negative impression I left on Elder Yun Xiu was secondary. After all, when we arrived at Qingyun Gate, he may not necessarily be under Yun Xiu's command. There is also Su Xiaoshan, and he is not very worried. From childhood to adulthood, he has never considered Su Xiaoshan, and all of this impression comes from his grandfather. What really worries him is Su Xiaomei. From the level of importance that Elder Yun Xiu places on Su Xiaomei, it can be seen that Su Xiaomei's talent and aptitude undoubtedly far exceed those of the others. After arriving at Qingyun Gate in the future, she will definitely receive great attention. If Su Xiaoshan benefits from it as his brother, he will definitely find ways to target himself. No, we must find a way. Su Yan thought so, his gaze fixed on the door. Jojo. 2 hours later, the sound of breaking through the air appeared in Su Xiaoshan's room. I saw the dagger, which was about the length of a palm, flying around Su Xiaoshan in the room, reaching a height of 2 meters. And the duration has also been extended to 20 breaths. With a surprised expression on his face, Su Xiaoshan waved his right hand and the dagger returned to his hand. Great, although my soul power hasn't improved much, my proficiency in controlling spiritual consciousness has increased significantly, and even the time I spent controlling daggers has been extended. In this case, even if you don't have cultivation now, you still have a slight ability to save your life, Su Xiaoshan muttered to himself as he looked at the dagger in his hand. Putting down the dagger for now, he will have to study another aspect, which is cultivation. From the information provided by the Hunyuan Ding, Su Xiaoshan learned that the realm of cultivation in the world can be divided into qi refining, foundation building, golden elixir, yuaning, transforming spirit, crossing calamity, combination, and Mahayana. And each of these realms, in addition to the 9 levels of qi cultivation, is further divided into early, middle, late, and great fullness. Although there are several levels of cultivation, not everyone can successfully cultivate those levels that follow. Not to mention anything else, even the transition from refining to building foundations has already stopped 90% of the cultivators. And in every subsequent realm, almost 10,000 people passed through a single wooden bridge, which was a staggering success rate. In fact, Elder Yun Xiu, a powerful alchemy practitioner, is already considered a very powerful presence in the world of cultivation. As for the realm above the golden elixir, Su Xiaoshan wouldn't even consider it now. Lien Yunxiu could also see that although Su Xiaoshan was only 10 years old, his mood was indeed incomparable to ordinary people. For those unattainable goals, he doesn't think much because he knows they are just adding to his troubles. At this moment, what he most wants to improve is his physical strength. If there were no Tai Chu Hun Yuan Ding, perhaps Su Xiaoshan, like other cultivators, would believe that introducing qi into the body and successfully condensing the sea of qi is the first step in cultivation. From the information provided by the Tai Chu Hun Yuan Ding, Su Xiaoshan finally realized that before introducing qi into the body, the real first step is to stimulate the body and expand meridians. Of course, this can also be referred to as preparation before cultivation. Injecting qi to refine one's physique while opening up veins. What is the use of those cool things by the Tai Chu Hunyuan Ding to quench my body before? It seems that we still need to study it carefully. So, Su Xiaoshan fell back into the study of cultivation. You're really dishonest. Yun Xiu, who was closing his eyes and recuperating, trembled with his spiritual sense and immediately noticed something unusual. Under his spiritual exploration, a sneaky figure appeared at the entrance of the inner secret room. That figure is none other than Su Yan. Although the flying boat is guarded by the immortal masters of Qingyun sect, he doesn't want to sit idly by. He can't wait until Su Xiaomei receives the attention of the high-level officials of Qingyun sect before figuring out a way. It will be too late by then. It's hard to imagine how an 11-year-old boy would have the courage to do so. What are you doing? Yun Xiu quietly approached Su Yan and asked softly. He doesn't want to make things worse. After all, this kid passed the test according to the normal procedure. On the other hand, this kid is indeed too young, and currently he is still an ordinary person. Before Su Yan's crimes are proven, he cannot bear to take action. Finally, one more thing is that he and the Su Xiaoshan siblings are blood relatives, and he doesn't know what impact this will have on Su Xiaoshan's mortal family. With a thud, Su Yan didn't turn around and knelt directly on the ground. He knocked his head 3 times before saying in a pleading tone, "Elder Yun, I just wanted to see my cousin. There's no other meaning." For his explanation, Yun Xiu treated it as if he hadn't said anything, but instead cast his spiritual consciousness onto the formation in the secret room. Upon probing, Yun Xiu suddenly changed color. With a bang, Yun Xiu directly broke through the door of the secret room and walked into it in one step. "Where are people? Li Ilyang, come out for me!" Yun Xiu shouted frantically. At this moment, a figure flew away from the other corner of the flying boat. The next moment, Yun Xiu flashed here, his eyes widened and his beard trembled. Li Ilyang. Before he could finish speaking, Yun Xiu disappeared from the bow of the flying boat. After a moment, his voice came. "Su Changlu, protect the others for me. I'll go back as soon as I go." At this moment, everyone ran out, and by the time they appeared at the bow of the ship, Yun Xiu had already disappeared. "Senior brother, what happened?" Su Xiaoshan, who was unaware of the situation, had a bad premonition and quickly asked. The disciple of Qingyun sect, known as Su Changlu, naturally had an unpleasant expression. Although he was not very clear about what had happened, he could guess that it must have been Li Ilyang's betrayal. Because he already knew that the little girl who was highly valued by Elder Yun was also missing. Little sister. Looking at Su Changlu's expression, before the other party could answer, she immediately ran towards the previous secret room. Several disciples of Qingyun sect naturally chased after them, while a few little ones who had just passed the test, not knowing why, dared not approach, but their faces were full of doubts. "Su Yan, what are you doing here? Where's the little girl?" Su Xiaoshan grabbed Su Yan's chest with both hands and asked angrily after realizing that the little girl was missing. In fact, Su Yan is also in a confused state at this moment. He hasn't figured out why Su Xiaomei disappeared. Which celestial being or immortal helped me a lot. However, facing Su Xiaoshan's questioning, he naturally couldn't show any surprise. "You ask me, who am I asking? Didn't you see Elder Yun chasing after her? Of course, that person robbed the girl." Su Yan responded to Su Xiaoshan's question naturally. In the eyes of others, there is naturally no problem. However, Su Xiaoshan still threw Su Yan hard and said with one foot on his chest, "Don't think I don't know what to think. Perhaps you haven't done anything this time, but it doesn't mean you haven't thought about it. Su Yan, I warn you that if I find out that you have any bad thoughts about your little sister, I will make it difficult for you to die." After Su Xiaoshan finished speaking, he left the crowd and turned to walk towards the bow of the boat. Several disciples of Qingyun sect did not stop Su Xiaoshan's actions from beginning to end, because at this moment, they could understand Su Xiaoshan's feelings. They knew better that Su Yan's appearance here must have an undisclosed purpose. Ignoring Su Yan, several disciples returned to the bow of the flying boat. Su Changlu walked up to Su Xiaoshan at the bow of the boat and said, "Su junior brother, don't worry so much. Li Ilyang took his sister away just to join other sects as a means of entering. He dare not easily harm her." At this moment, Su Xiaoshan did not appear very excited, but rather calm. He knew that no matter how excited he was, it was useless and he could only wait. He waved his hand and said without looking back, "Don't worry, senior brother Su, I understand." Su Changlu was very surprised, but he never understood how a 10-year-old boy could be so calm. "I don't know, do you think this young man is an old monster who takes away others?" "Monsters? Is it really?" Su Changlu shook his head and patted Su Xiaoshan's shoulder, saying, "All right, junior brother, please be quiet here for a while." After speaking, Su Changlu will take his junior brothers back to his room. But at this moment, the accident happened again. With a loud bang, the lower part of the flying boat seemed to be under attack, losing control and about to capsize. Su Changlu immediately cast a spell to stabilize the hull and reminded his junior brothers, "Help me stabilize the hull. Lu Tong, take care of several little ones." At this moment, Su Xiaoshan clearly saw a flying boat of the same size appearing in front of them. And the people on the flying boat were one by one ferocious and evil, more than 10 people. "Senior brother Su, it seems we have encountered someone who robbed us." Su Xiaoshan turned to Su Changlu and said. It seems that Li Yiliang had a plan, and Su Xiaomei was just an unexpected event. Su Changlu reacted and said to the other disciples. "Senior brother, what should we do?" one of the disciples asked. After closing his eyes and feeling the dozen or so people on the flying boat ahead, Su Changlu said to his junior brothers, "Leave 2 of them to guard the disciples. Let's go and kill this group of garbage." "Yes," several people responded. Chapter 7. Falling Flying Boat. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At the same time as Su Changlu ordered an active attack, the flying boat ahead had also been raised to the same height. "Ha ha ha, brothers, we're lucky today. We're disciples of Qinyan sect," a black-robed man shouted as he pulled his messy beard and looked at the crowd in the flying boat with his eyes lit up. The robbers saw only a few young people on the flying boat, as well as a few teenagers around 10 years old, and their confidence doubled and they were extremely excited. Especially the leader, from his gaze at the several teenagers, it seemed that their target was actually these mortal youths. This also confirms Su Changlu's previous speculation that these people were planned with Li Yiliang to seize these mortal youths. As for their specific purpose of snatching the mortal youth, it is unknown. Who are you? Since you know it's the flying boat of Qinyan Gate, do you dare to grab it? Aren't you afraid of being annihilated by Qinyan Gate? Su Changlu saw that the opponent's flying boat had risen to the same height as himself, so he didn't rush to attack. Instead, he tried to test it out to see if he could learn about the opponent's background. Kids, are you stupid? How could you tell your identity if you're in our business? However, before you die, Grandpa will tell you to be an understanding ghost. The leading black-robed man finished speaking and attacked with a knife. Children, step back, junior brothers, face the enemy. Su Changlu didn't dare to neglect and immediately ordered. Those who received the order naturally took immediate action, with several disciples of Qinyan sect leading the way and blocking the children. But a few children from the mortal world, who have never seen such a battle before, are so scared that they cannot move one by one. Su Xiaoshan is not included in this list. At the moment when the man in black attacked, he strode back behind the disciples of Qinyan Gate with one arrow step, and at the same time, he threw 2 of the young men behind with one hand. Then he returned again and quickly pulled the other 2 back as well. At this time, Su Changlu had already led his disciples to fight against the gang of bandits. Although these bandits have an advantage in terms of numbers and are taking the initiative to attack, it is obvious that they have underestimated the strength of their sect disciples. 5 people fought against a dozen others, but the disciples of Qinyan Gate still had the upper hand. In no time, they managed to push the group of robbers back into the opponent's flying boat. The battlefield changed, and the Qinjianmen flying boat temporarily regained calm. At this time, only Su Xiaoshan and 4 young men remained on the flying boat, along with Su Yan who stayed at the back. Of course, in such a fierce battle, who would have noticed Su Yan? Especially Su Xiaoshan, who was standing at the bow of the boat, his eyes constantly watching the battle of the 5 disciples of Qinyan sect. Besides wanting to learn some combat skills from it, what's more important is that he wants to provide help to them when necessary. After all, in Su Xiaoshan's view, since these people had already planned and took the initiative to attack, they naturally wouldn't just have such limited strength. Sure enough, when the battle became intense, a wave of soul power could be heard from the tail of the opponent's flying boat. The disciples of Qingyun sect, who were in a fierce battle, didn't notice this at all. At this moment, perhaps only Su Xiaoshan noticed. So, Su Xiaoshan released his spiritual consciousness and wanted to investigate who the person who released his soul power was. After a moment, a dark and messy figure appeared within Su Xiaoshan's spiritual realm. That's just a cultivator in the qi refining period, he actually has spiritual consciousness. Su Xiaoshan felt a bit strange. In his understanding, spiritual consciousness is that only after building a foundation, can the physical strength and cultivation improve to a certain extent, and only under the influence of strong blood and spiritual power, can a few people activate their soul power. Otherwise, one can only wait until they enter the golden elixir period, naturally opening up the sea of consciousness and starting spiritual cultivation. And the fact that Su Xiaoshan possesses soul power is still difficult for him to explain on his own, let alone someone else's. But he didn't have time to think much, because he realized that the messy figure had already produced a seemingly elusive flying sword, intending to launch a surprise attack on Su Changlu. After realizing the other party's purpose, Su Xiaoshan immediately exerted his spiritual consciousness, controlled his small dagger, and was ready to stop the other party at any time. As for the person with soul power, it is impossible to imagine that one of the mortal youths on the flying boat would also have soul power. At this moment, the battle ahead has entered a white heat, and several bandits have been killed in the team. The bandits led by the man in black are about to lose their grip. At this moment, the disheveled figure immediately offered the flying sword and flew towards Su Changlu's heart at lightning speed. "Be careful, senior brother Su." Su Xiaoshan shouted, and at the same time, the dagger flew out under the control of spiritual consciousness. Ding-ling. At the critical moment, Su Xiaoshan's dagger shattered the flying sword offered by the messy figure, blocking the surprise attack. Puff. The messy figure sacrificing the flying sword was shattered by the soul sword, and immediately spewed out a mouthful of blood. At the same time, his gaze also swept towards Su Xiaoshan. When he saw Su Xiaoshan, he didn't care about the pain caused by the broken soul sword and shouted excitedly, "Nice kid, I didn't expect to have any unexpected gains this time." At this moment, behind the flying boat at Qingyun Gate, there is also a pair of eyes staring at Su Xiaoshan at this moment. Su Xiaoshan, at this moment, he attacked you and pushed you off the flying boat. You probably don't have a chance to survive, do you? Su Yan walked towards Su Xiaoshan with a gloomy face, step by step. On the other side, Su Xiaoshan only noticed the messy figure coming towards him. But Su Yan, who was calculating himself behind him, was completely unaware. The other few children, at this moment, were only afraid and didn't care about anything else. They all thought they hadn't seen Su Yan walking towards Su Xiaoshan step by step. Little doll, this is what you brought for yourself. The messy figure shouted excitedly as he looked at Su Xiaoshan. And Su Xiaoshan naturally wouldn't sit idly by. He was preparing to retreat and retrieve his small dagger, taking action at a critical moment to deal with the person in front of him. But the next moment, my back was fiercely pushed by someone. Although Su Xiaoshan has good physical fitness, he has also been tempered by the Tai Chu Hun Yuan Ding. But that doesn't mean he can withstand the full push from his peers. Moreover, this was still in his unprepared situation. His feet were empty, and his heart immediately lifted up, but he had no choice. And in the moment he fell off the flying boat, he also saw clearly the person pushing him. Su Yan. If possible, Su Xiaoshan wants to kill this calamity now. The messy figure who was about to take action against Su Xiaoshan was also stunned. He never expected such a funny scene to appear. How could the new disciples recruited by Qingyun sect still engage in internal strife? However, he was very unhappy. Compared to the remaining boys, Su Xiaoshan had greater value. He was a child who had soul power without cultivation. But now that child has been pushed off the flying boat by someone. If he dies, it will be useless. Damn it, you. Damn it, you die for me. That messy figure was preparing to kill Su Yan to relieve his hatred. But at this moment, when Su Changlu saw Su Xiaoshan fall, he thought it was that messy figure that brought Su Xiaoshan down. In anger, Su Changlu slashed open the black-robed bandit with one sword and headed towards this messy figure. You. The scruffy figure glared at the frightened Su Yan, quickly retreated, and then swept towards his own flying boat. At this moment, the leading black robbing thief took out a shiny object, then his face changed and he shouted to the messy figure flying back, "Retreat." Why? The messy figure asked unwillingly. The support for Qingyun Gate is coming soon. If we don't retreat, we won't be able to make it in time. The black-robed bandit quickly responded and immediately ordered people to return. At this moment, Su Changlu hesitated and looked conflicted. If he goes chasing alone, he will definitely go to die, and if he takes someone to chase, what will these children do if something unexpected happens again? Moreover, they didn't have much to lose initially. The only loss was Su Xiaoshan, who fell off the flying boat. "Senior brother, are you chasing me?" a Qingyun sect disciple asked as he looked at Su Changlu at the moment. Su Changlu's face was full of anger, but there was nowhere to vent it. In the end, he could only hold back one sentence. "Li Ilyang, I will kill you." Su Xiaoshan, who fell rapidly, felt very helpless in his heart. He didn't expect to encounter a dead end just as he arrived at the cultivation world. Those beautiful aspirations have now all turned into jokes. The last thing he expected was that he was not harmed by the bandits, but was tricked by Su Yan. Listening to the sound of the rapid descent, Su Xiaoshan closed his eyes and accepted the result he least wanted to accept. "I don't know how long it took for me to fall from a high altitude." Su Xiaoshan only felt a slight pain in his skin, which should be due to the air friction caused by the rapid fall. But he didn't understand these things, and at this moment, he didn't even think of resisting. With his current abilities, it's useless to use them all. However, at this moment, his body seemed to be resisting the temperature transmitted from his skin autonomously. And then, the Taichu Hunyuan Ding in the Sea of Consciousness seemed to have also responded. Green lights were released from the Hunyuan cauldron one by one, quickly enveloping Su Xiaoshan and forming a layer of green light curtain on his body, gradually repairing his body. Not only that, his green light curtain continued to expand, gradually forming a green bubble. The bubble weakened the speed of Su Xiaoshan's descent and floated in mid-air, slowly descending. Su Xiaoshan, who was about to accept fate's arrangement, opened his eyes when the pain disappeared. When he saw the scene before him, he was once again stunned. "This is the primordial Hunyuan Ding. Did you save me?" Su Xiaoshan's spiritual sense entered the sea of knowledge and stared at the primordial Hunyuan Ding emitting a dazzling green light, asking. Chapter 8 Was swallowed alive. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Su Xiaoshan swayed in the sky for an unknown amount of time before seeing the dark forest below. That's right, it's already dark. Originally, there were also day and night changes in the cultivation world. However, at this moment, Su Xiaoshan had no intention of thinking about it. Originally, Su Xiaoshan thought that since the disciples of Qingyun's sect knew they had fallen off the flying boat, they would not ignore it. However, he was disappointed that the people from Qingyun Gate did not appear, or rather they had not yet found themselves. So he thought again, there must be many powerful beasts in such a big forest, right? No, it should be a monster. He may not be able to deal with wild beasts, let alone demon beasts. Thinking of this, even if Su Xiaoshan's mentality is good, he cannot calm down. Fortunately, it's already dark. Otherwise, those flying monsters wouldn't be competing to come and eat me. Su Xiaoshan trembled unconsciously. During the day, he saw many flying monsters hovering under the flying boat. At this moment, Su Xiaoshan was extremely worried about his future, and the hope that had just risen due to the rescue of the Taichu Hunyuan Ding became slim again. Here we are, finally we are going to the ground. Across the green foam, Su Xiaoshan saw the tall trees around him. And those trees, green like from the foam, are very beautiful. This made Su Xiaoshan, who was in a bad mood, feel a hint of comfort. But the next moment, Su Xiaoshan suddenly realized something was wrong. Does this thing shine? Su Xiaoshan exclaimed in surprise. Then he looked towards the ground, without knowing, and at first glance, he was really scared and about to fly. At this moment, the ground of the forest was densely covered with monsters. They stretched their necks and opened their mouths, waiting for Su Xiaoshan and the bubbles to fall. I'll be good. If this falls, it won't be torn into thousands or even thousands of pieces. Actually, Su Xiaoshan was clearly overthinking it. Those powerful monsters could swallow him whole with any open mouth. How could he have thousands of them? However, Su Xiaoshan didn't have time to think about these things. His most important thing now is to communicate with Taichu Hunyuan Ding. I said, Big Brother, save people to the end. You can't continue to fall. If this falls, you and I will both be swallowed. Su Xiaoshan begged in a tone of voice as he communicated with Taichu Hunyuan Ding. However, the primordial Hunyuan Ding was still so proud and coquettish that no one paid attention to him. Yes, you're not afraid of being swallowed, but have you ever thought about it? What's the reason you chose me for? Isn't it just that you want me to continue shining with you? If at this time, we were all swallowed by monsters, have you ever thought about it? From then on, you will be buried in this endless primitive forest, and no one will come here to find you again. And Su Xiaoshan talked a lot, but his Hunyuan Ding didn't respond at all. Not only that, in the process of Su Xiaoshan's wordiness, the foam fell faster. Okay. You're amazing. Can't I stop talking? Su Xiaoshan immediately shut up when he noticed this situation. But he looked down at the big mouths below, really unable to imagine his own ending. Death is not scary, what's scary is knowing how to die, and even watching oneself walk towards death. At this moment, Su Xiaoshan felt a feeling of wanting to cry without tears. And at this moment, the monster below is very excited. Seeing you all waving your teeth and claws, I'm just a little older. How do you divide them? Have you figured it out? Anyway, there was no turning back, so Su Xiaoshan chose to use satirical monsters to ease his inner fear. In fact, there is no need for Su Xiaoshan to say that those monster beasts have already entered the competitive stage themselves. The monsters are no longer limited to mutual conflict and exclusion, they have already started to claw and bite each other. Su Xiaoshan watched helplessly as a monster below him was attacked by several monsters of the same level, while the monster ignored him and remained open, waiting for the arrival of delicious food. However, the next moment, the monster was dismembered by the 5 beasts. Such scenes happen all the time. Such a bloody scene, even Su Xiaoshan, who had been hunting with his father for 2 years, couldn't help but feel nauseous, it was too shocking. At a glance, the powerful monsters that could not be seen were all taller than houses. Rows and piles of corpses formed by these monster beasts are so spectacular. The roaring, tearing, and roaring of trees being knocked down made Su Xiaoshan tremble with fear. What level are these monster beasts? They are so big, shouldn't their level be low? If the strength of these monster beasts exceeds that of the Golden Elixir powerhouse, does that mean that the people of Qinyan's sect cannot find this place? They will never sacrifice their Golden Core powerhouse for being a mortal youth. Even if the younger sister's talent is good, it is impossible for them to make such a sacrifice. Thinking of this, Su Xiaoshan's last hope for Qinyan Gate seemed to have been shattered. Although he cannot determine the specific level of these monster beasts, he can still guess a rough idea. Even if these monster beasts cannot reach the Golden Core, they should still be in the foundation building stage. It seems that even if it lands in the future, everything will have to rely on oneself. Bang! Xiaoshan, who was thinking about these things, suddenly felt a violent shake, which made him dizzy and disoriented. Immediately after, he saw in his shaking vision that he had fallen to the same height as the monster. And at this moment, those monsters were competing and chasing after the bubble where Xiaoshan was located. Is this kicking me like a ball? Xiaoshan's mind went blank. In this limited space, he couldn't help but feel it. You can't sit and wait to die. Thinking about these, he thought of his own dagger, but when he touched his waist, he didn't touch it. Where's my dagger? Immediately afterwards, Xiaoshan felt a slight movement in his sea of consciousness. Spiritual consciousness entered the sea of consciousness, and he was surprised to find that the dagger was suspended directly above the Hunyuan cauldron. Why didn't I notice just now? Xiaoshan looked at the dagger in confusion and then thought to himself. Jiu. The dagger unexpectedly returned to his side. Moreover, at this moment, the dagger was still trembling incessantly, looking very excited. Immediately after, an obscure message appeared in his mind, roughly indicating that he could assist Xiaoshan in fighting together. After learning about this information, Xiaoshan was completely stunned. This dagger can now communicate with oneself. After a moment, he thought of the knowledge taught to him by the Hunyuan Ding. Some weapons have a spirit, and the spirit can communicate with the owner. Immediately after, Qi Ling transmitted another message, meaning that he was not a dagger, he was a flying knife. Turns out it's a flying knife, not a dagger, that's why it's so small. Okay, whether it's a flying knife or a dagger doesn't matter. Can we handle the monsters outside? Xiaoshan asked. The next message that disappointed Xiaoshan came. The meaning of the flying knife was that it had not fully recovered yet and could not deal with so many monsters. Alright, needless to say, it took a long time, and finally I had to rely on myself. Xiaoshan couldn't resist roast. Bang! The battle between the monsters continued, but they did not give up their fight for Xiaoshan. Bang 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 bang. Xiaoshan and Bubble had already fallen to the ground, like balloons, being chased by monsters in the melee. He could only passively fly back and forth on the ground, causing Xiaoshan unbearable suffering. You really know how to play, it's quite enjoyable. When I improve my strength, I'll grill you all one by one. Xiaoshan couldn't help but chuckle. After a long time, Xiaoshan didn't even have the strength to complain about roast. Suddenly, the monsters stopped. Although he didn't know what was going on, Xiaoshan thought he could take a break and relax. Roar! At this moment, a deafening roar echoed through the forest. Cheers and cheers. Da-da-da-da. Roaming and rumbling. Under the shock of this huge roar, those demon beasts who were snatching Bubbles actually fled one after another, and under mutual pressure, I don't know how many more demon beasts were squeezed to death, crushed to death, and trampled to death. At the same time, Xiaoshan, who finally had no need to endure the hardships of turbulence, saw a scene that made him extremely frightened. Over the forest shrouded in darkness, a huge head appeared on the crown of a tree several tens of meters high, with a pair of bright red eyes that revealed endless greed and desire, staring straight at itself. Done. When Xiaoshan saw this monster, these two words were all that remained in his heart. Xiaoshan had just thought of these two words when he saw the monster extend its claws, which were even larger than a flying boat, and grab towards the bubble. Run! Upon seeing this scene, Xiaoshan shouted a word and lifted his leg to run. He stepped out step by step, his strength falling on the bubble wall, and the bubble immediately rolled up. No, don't come over. Xiaoshan shouted as he ran. However, it has no effect and the opponent is too strong. At the next moment, the monster dug a big hole in the ground and grabbed it along with the bubbles carrying Xiaoshan. Don't, wait. Su Xiaoshan originally intended to use his soul to communicate with this monster. However, they didn't give him a chance and swallowed him whole. Chapter 9. Cave Harvest. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. After an unknown amount of time, Su Xiaoshan woke up from his coma and saw a pitch-black scene. What's the situation? Am I dead? Su Xiaoshan said in confusion. As the adults told him, Su Xiaoshan touched a part of his body and pinched it hard. Hiss. It hurts so much. Am I still alive? But isn't that right? I was clearly swallowed by that big guy. Su Xiaoshan is a bit confused. Although he was in a coma before, he was very clear about what had happened before he became unconscious. At that time, he was about to use his soul to communicate with that big guy and see if it was possible to let him go. But he was swallowed by the other party before he had a chance. Afterwards, Su Xiaoshan followed the green bubble and passed through the twisted esophagus of the big guy from top to bottom, experiencing countless collisions. In the end, Su Xiaoshan couldn't bear it and fell into a coma. In theory, with the strength of that big guy, he should have been digested by the other party. How could he still be alive? Forget it, why do you want to do so much? Isn't living a good thing? The green bubble is missing, I'll go ask the leader first. Su Xiaoshan understood that the reason why he was still alive was definitely because of the Taichu Hunyuan Ding. As he had been in contact with the Taichu Hunyuan Ding for a longer time, he began to attach more importance to it. At this moment, he simply gave that Hunyuan Ding a nickname. Brother Ding, can we communicate for a while? Su Xiaoshan tentatively asked as he entered his own sea of knowledge. However, the answer to him was not what he called Dinggu, but the flying knife suspended above the Hunyuan Ding. The information transmitted from the flying knife is that during the period when Su Xiaoshan was unconscious, the Hunyuan Ding had already drained all the energy of the monster. At this time, Hunyuan Ding is in the digestion stage and has no time to deal with him. What? So? Such a powerful monster. That's how it was. Su Xiaoshan was startled. When that big guy didn't appear before, Su Xiaoshan judged that the group of monster beasts, even if they weren't golden elixirs, were probably building a foundation. So the huge monster that emerged later has naturally reached the level of a golden pill. But it is such a powerful existence that has been drained of energy by the primordial Hunyuan Ding. Amazing. My Ding brother. Su Xiaoshan couldn't help but give his Ding brother a thumbs up. With a chirp, the flying knife approached Su Xiaoshan and trembled a few times, conveying another message. The meaning is that the monster has died and lost all its physical energy. Now, as long as you use a small knife to cut open the monster's skin and flesh, Su Xiaoshan will be out of trouble. Really? After understanding the meaning of the knife, Su Xiaoshan was immediately surprised and wanted to jump up. At the next moment, the spiritual consciousness withdrew directly from the sea of consciousness, and with a thought, a small knife appeared in his hand. It took half a day to see a glimmer of light. Oh my, even though this monster has lost all its physical energy, it is still so resilient and sturdy. If it really encounters the golden elixir, the outcome is still unknown. Su Xiaoshan couldn't help but sigh as he crawled out of the monster's belly. However, when he turned around and saw the current situation, he was truly startled. This time I really jumped up, not fake. What's the situation? Su Xiaoshan couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. The scene in front of him at this moment is similar to last night, and even more shocking. Because it is daytime now, the image in his eyes at this moment is clearer and more natural than yesterday. The body of the demon beast standing on Su Xiaoshan is like a small mountain, as big as several flying boats. At first glance, the muscles of the monster's entire body were shriveled, leaving only skin and bones. The most intuitive one is the position where Su Xiaoshan is standing at this moment, which is just the belly of the monster. As he looks straight ahead, he happens to see the rows of ribs of the monster. Ding, how much physical energy has been absorbed? Xiaoshan sighed again. Of course, even the most powerful dead monster can no longer withstand the waves. What frightened Xiaoshan was the hesitant monsters around him 100 meters away. Xiaoshan saw very clearly that almost all of these monster beasts had participated in the plunder against him, because they still carried unhealed injuries and dry blood stains on their bodies. But yesterday was yesterday, covered by Ding Gu, he could still relax and wait, but now. No, we can't be afraid. The more we fear them, the more arrogant they become. Xiaoshan looked at the monsters who didn't move forward or retreat, analyzed their thoughts, and immediately made a judgment. They are afraid. That's right, those monster beasts are currently surrounded 100 meters away, not moving forward or backward, and some smart monster beasts even show a look of fear in their eyes. They must have witnessed the big guy's death with their own eyes. They are still judging the cause of the big guy's death at this moment. They can probably think that the big guy died because he ate me. That's why they're hesitant. Therefore, I must show an incredibly calm demeanor. Thinking of this, Xiaoshan forcefully strengthened his courage, leaped up and down from the body of the big guy, which was several meters high, and observed the reactions of the surrounding monsters with the remaining light. Sure enough. Seeing Xiaoshan fearlessly jump off the big guy, the surrounding monsters were all startled and retreated one after another, but did not leave. These guys, who have been able to grow up to now, probably have developed a considerable level of intelligence. They probably won't want to leave until they test my true strength. So Xiaoshan turned around and stabbed the big guy in the abdomen. Hiss. This. He originally intended to cut off some of the big guy's flesh to see if he could scare these monsters, but obviously Xiaoshan was overthinking it. Previously, when he was operating internally, it was so difficult. Now that he has come out, he is using the same method to deal with the outer skin of the monster. Isn't that uncomfortable to find? The surrounding monsters watched Xiaoshan's actions and didn't know what he was going to do, but even if Xiaoshan didn't succeed, they didn't move forward. Obviously, there is still a sense of fear. Is that a cave? Xiaoshan, who was worried, glanced over a spot and found a huge cave on top of the mountain. The size of the cave opening surprisingly matches that of a dead monster. A demon beast from the Golden Elixir period, I think there should be many treasures, right? Without saying a word, Xiaoshan ran straight towards the cave. And the surrounding monsters are also strange at this moment. What exactly does this human youth want to do? Without any obstruction, Xiaoshan easily arrived at the monster cave and felt the atmosphere inside. Xiaoshan immediately made a judgment, it's indeed the cave of that monster. How fragrant. What's so fragrant? Entering the cave, Xiaoshan smelled a refreshing fragrance. As he walked inside the cave, the fragrant scent grew stronger. As he reached the end of the cave, Xiaoshan's eyes lit up and he saw a purple-red flower. No, that's not just one flower, it's a patch, it's just one flower blooming now. What kind of treasure is this? Xiaoshan approached and wanted to touch it, but just as he stepped out, he shrank back. Because he saw a pair of white bones beneath that flower plant. It is a complete set of human bones. When Xiaoshan saw this picture, his whole body tightened and he broke out in a cold sweat. He was not afraid of the bones, but afraid of this flower. It is obvious that those human skeletons were not killed and released by monsters, but rather those passed by humans themselves. Because next to those bones, there are also clothes and weapons. Although those clothes were rotten, judging from their current state, their clothes were intact before their death. And most of their weapons are unsheathed. From the scene before him, Xiaoshan can confirm that these human bones are highly likely to have been killed by these flowers. As for how they killed these people, it is unknown. Xiaoshan has never studied medicine, so naturally he does not understand the properties of these flowers. Never mind, no matter how beautiful the flowers are, fate is not as important. After saying this, Xiaoshan turned to look in another direction. There is indeed a treasure. Just now, due to the flowers, Xiaoshan didn't take a detailed look at the cave. Looking at it now, there is actually something inside the cave. Xiaoshan arrived at a place where various weapons and cloth bags were piled up. Those cloth bags should be Qianquan bags similar to those of Qinyan sect disciples. It seems lucky. Before coming, I was worried about not having any cultivation resources. Now that I'm good, I have everything. Xiaoshan's heart was filled with joy at the moment. Why don't we just practice here? This place is deep in the forest, and I won't be able to leave for a while. I'll wait until my level improves before going out. As for my little sister. Hey. It's useless to worry, just walking out of here is like dying. I hope the elders of Qinyan Gate can take good care of him. Xiaoshan is not worried about his sister's safety. It is impossible to say that he is not worried, but worrying is useless. But even if other sects snatch it, they won't easily harm their sister. Furthermore, it was the guy named Li Yiliang who snatched away his sister that day. That person's realm at that time was only the 9th level of qi refining, and it was impossible for him to be a match for Elder Yun. Thinking of this, Xiaoshan made a decision and decided to practice here first. In the future, if something unexpected happens to his sister, he will make everyone who has hurt her pay the price. Just as Xiaoshan made the decision to find a place to practice, he realized that the layer of black oil on his body had already scabbed. Just now, I was just focused on other things and forgot. Dinggu didn't forget to harden my body last night. Dinggu is really interesting. We need to find a place to wash first. Thinking of this, Xiaoshan turned around and prepared to walk outside the cave. However, he took a few steps and then turned back. From the pile of weapons, he chose a long sword that looked very pleasing to the eye, and turned around to walk again towards the outside of the cave. Chapter 10. Please provide a temporary solution. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This translator is experiencing an error, please try another translator.